Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our business spotlight today. I'm Todd Rodden. I'm your host. I own Aspire Action Coach based here in Southwest Ohio. You're going to love the story today of an entrepreneur, somebody who came with a really strong corporate track record and then had the entrepreneurial spirit and spent the last 7 years really building a leader in the engineering space. So, Peter Grinalds, who's the CEO of Grinalds Solutions, welcome to the Business Spotlight series.
Thanks so much, Todd. I really appreciate it. Very glad to be here and share a little bit about the story of Grinalds Solutions.
Folks, we spoke offline, and I think you're going to love his passion for what they do and the products that they help design and build. So, Peter, if you could take a minute, kind of tell us a bit more about Grinalds Solutions. What are some of the services you provide, and how did you start the business to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely. So Grinalds Solutions right now is a flexible team of engineers who are dedicated to transforming our clients' ideas from an idea or a sketch into ready product. So we have a team of seasoned engineers, including mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, computer engineers, software and enterprise engineers, all ready to build our clients' products. We have experience in industrial automation, consumer formulated products, defense. We come from all backgrounds. Right now, we're specializing in consumer electronics and product design. But our top priority is to design products that our clients can rely on and that their customers will love. You asked how it started. So back in 2019, I was approached by a couple of people who had an idea for a therapeutic sleep device that would be kind of a lifestyle product that people would use to increase their heart rate variability, which is in the consumer world a primary metric for rest and recovery. And they had an idea, they had the science, they had a medical background, and they had a mechanical background, but they didn't have electrical. I studied electrical engineering at Cedarville University, and up in Dayton, in the Southwest Ohio area. And I love electrical engineering. And so when these two came, I'll help them out there. And at the time, didn't make a whole lot off of the project, but it did whet my appetite for designing consumer electronics and seeing a product through from beginning to end. And so that was the very first product that kind of kicked off the idea of, oh, maybe I can do engineering for myself. I spent 5 years as a senior engineering manager at Procter Gamble, working on Febreze products that are made in St. Louis and in West Virginia, and then also on Dawn Power Wash and Dawn Easy Squeeze bottles, Dawn Platinum. Even though I've left P&G, I have so much love for the excellence of the engineering and the dedication to the products at Procter & Gamble, and I'm very thankful for the influence that it had on me as I've set off on my own here. And so even though my heart still has some of itself in Procter & Gamble, I love what I do now in building products with my team for clients.
Kind of build. Hey, thank you for sharing the background. So, in terms of clients, who makes kind of ideal clients for you? Who's kind of your target clientele? So, somebody's listening to know, hey, they should pick up and reach out to you guys.
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of factors that my peer group of engineering contractors will look for in an ideal client. What I think is maybe unique in what I look for is passion from the client themselves. One of the rules that we have at Grinalds Solutions is we only work on products that we would make for free anyway. We don't do it for free, but what we found is that mantra helps us to hone in on our intersection of engineering competence and personal enthusiasm, which we believe is the primary recipe for creating a great product. And we look for that also in our client partners as well. If they're not passionate about it, if we don't think it's a cool idea, it's not going to become the great product that we all want it to be.
So, how do you find those kind of clients, right? Those kind of opportunities? What have been some of the keys to growth then for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say uh, there's the fundamental grassroots word of mouth for sure, and we found that clients end up begetting clients. But in terms of new leads, we found that going to trade shows around the country and around the world have been key to finding those individuals or those companies or those partners who are developing products that they're really passionate about. We were at CES at the beginning of January. We were at Axpona last year, the Audio Expo of North America. Uh, Axpona is coming up again in Chicago in a couple weeks here in early April. High End Vienna in Austria is coming up in June. What we found is that the sorts of people that go to trade shows in their particular niche or their particular industry are the sorts of clients who have a level of passion or obsession for their product with whom we want to partner. So yes, it's cool to go see emerging technologies and new products, but really we go there for the partnerships.
It's great. If you don't mind, I'd love to go a little bit deeper around that trade show avenue because I hear I hear different stories from folks around trade shows. I hear some go, "Yeah, we go every year, but we don't really get much out of it." But you find it, hey, it's actually fertile ground. So, is there a certain approach when you're at the trade shows, or ways you make sure you get connections and visibility?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So the way that I divide it up is into two categories. I have what I call my semi-warm leads and then my fully warm leads. Those are the ones that really have the most value. What I refer to as the semi-warm leads, these are ones where both parties might be aware of each other beforehand, but there isn't a mutual connection yet. So take for example, a lifestyle device manufacturer that makes wearables. Typically, because we've played in that space before, we're aware of a lot of the other companies that are in that space making products or trying to sell them, and they're typically aware of us because we've worked with either with their competitors, we've been in the space for a little while. Um, that's what I would call a semi-warm lead, maybe on the colder side, but I always make sure to set up meetings beforehand. Um, I completely agree with you that there are a lot of people who would go to a trade show, they go every year or every other year, and they get nothing out of it because they show up and they're completely overwhelmed by the schedule. They haven't set up any meetings. Everyone else has meetings set up and they feel like they're behind the power curve. And they're behind the power curve. The way to get ahead of that, though, is to set up meetings beforehand, even if there's not a mutual connection. So those are what I would say are a little higher risk and don't typically convert as often. But then that's why I also pad with fully warm leads. And this is where there's either already a relationship established or there is a relationship with 2 degrees of separation where I have an associate or a partner in the industry who's worked directly with these people that I'm trying to interact with, and I have them set up the meeting. These have been the most fertile, the most reliable avenues for generating new clients. Only ever go to a trade show if you can set up at least 10 meetings ahead of time. Otherwise, it's not worth your time.
Very wise advice right there. So thank you for sharing some of your secrets to kind of your trade show magic there. Again, something a lot of folks do. Not many do it well. So thank you for sharing that, Peter. So going on your seventh year now, every entrepreneurial journey has some hills and valleys, some twists and turns. But if you look back now, what's one past challenge that stands out to you that you and the team overcame, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah. So I think one of the big challenges and I'll speak on two here. One of them is more philosophical, and then one is more project based. On the first one, I think the recognition that failure is not final is 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 easy to grasp, but is one of the most difficult ideologies to truly internalize. Um, and I think everyone can attest that, oh yeah, we know that failure is not final. We know that everyone who's successful has gone through difficult challenges. Everyone has doubted themselves at some point. But truly being able to internalize that when you get a Slack message that your over the air update system that's deployed to the field is down, or this fourth iteration of a mechanical enclosure doesn't have the tolerances weren't right again, or your circuit board failed the EMI test at the testing lab. These are all things that no matter what we believe and what we know to be true about the nature of failure, it doesn't change the fact that in that moment, when your stomach drops and when you're asking yourself, am I going to lose this client? Is failure going to crush us here? Are we going to be able to carry on? And it's a choice in that moment to say, this is going to be okay. Engineers are persistent. We're going to find a solution. We're going to take care of our clients. We're going to make a plan to solve this, and we're going to move forward. It's something that, in my experience, hasn't gotten any easier. The only thing that has gotten easier is knowing that as soon as I start to feel that feeling in my stomach, or when one of my engineers tells me of a new problem that I hadn't expected, to take a moment to step back, to take a breath, to recognize that feeling is, sure, it might not be my favorite feeling, but it's not going to overcome us, and to choose to respond in a way that is constructive and continues to communicate excellence and resolve on the part of our clients to deliver an excellent product. So on the personal side, I would say the recognition that failure is not final and that persistence is the way through challenges has been the most important thing that I and my team have learned over the last couple of years. It's also been the most difficult, but I think it's something that all founders, all startups have to learn at some point. Otherwise, they won't succeed. And then on the project side of things, I'll say one that is going to probably be very familiar for all of your listeners, which is the impact of tariffs and the shifting global trade structure over the last year or so. We, in addition to a lot of our clients, do prototyping in the Philippines, in Vietnam, and in China. And on average, cost of prototyping has doubled pretty typically. And so that's been a major challenge for our partners. One of the things that we provide to our partners is the ability to iterate very quickly and get projects across the finish line really quickly. And we've had to adapt to that. And one of the ways that we've done that is we have come up with a new initial qualification and production qualification testing routine. So when we're making a new product, let's say that we're making a circuit board for an audio amplifier or something, and there is some R&D associated with it. Instead of making a single kind of golden design and getting it prototyped, what we will do is we will separate on the same board what we would call the critical portions of that R&D design, and we'll make multiple versions on the same board so that we can get it all made at once. It cuts down the cost of the prototype significantly because we're not doing multiple production runs, and it gives us a much faster time to market. Necessity is the mother of an invention, and the impact of the tariffs has not been fun from a bottom line perspective, but it has forced us to get much more efficient and much more effective by proxy.
Love that specific. Thank you for sharing that specific example of really having to adapt really here just in the last year with all the changes that have happened there with tariffs and the supply chain and that. So 7 years in.
Thank you.
What's your dream longer term for the business? If you look, I don't know, 5, 10 years down the road, where do you see the business going?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have an 8-person team right now. We have the engineering side, we have marketing, sales, and we have an administrative team. And we're looking to double that. But we're looking to double that with maintaining the same spirit of engineering passion that has marked us up until this point. And it's not easy to grow in that particular direction. It's the story of all startups, that startups lose that culture. It's why it's called a startup culture. But I believe that if we maintain our rules of only working on things that we would do for free anyway, and we find projects that have the funding, the focus, and the external recognition, that I think we can continue to do that. When I look to find engineers to join the team, the primary question that I ask during my interviews is about what the engineer likes to do in his or her free time. What are your hobbies? Because those end up decrying what sort of mindset the individual has toward engineering. Doesn't mean that the person has to set up an IoT system in their house or has to be doing enclosure design in their free time. But if they like working on their car, if they like tying their own fly fishing flies, that engenders a sort of creative output that I think is incredibly valuable in the engineering space as well. And so I'm hoping to continue to grow the team of individuals who are passionate about creating, in order to build to a 16-person team in the next 3 to 5 years, and bring our revenue along with it.
Hey, you talked about, hey, what do you look at key you look for, right, when you're looking to hire? But what else do you do within the culture, kind of within the day to day, to keep that startup mindset, that startup spirit?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one where I've had to grow significantly. And a lot of companies, and in particular Procter and Gamble, P&G has a really good emphasis on ownership for employees. They have a very strong, literally ownership program of stock ownership. But it's one of the 5 core values: loyalty, integrity, teamwork, passion for winning, and ownership. They have a very strong mission. And those are their 5 PVPs, as they would always say. And at Grinalds Solutions, there's something similar from a leadership perspective, and I like to call that enablement over dictatorship. People like to say, "Oh, don't dictate or micromanage to your team." Really, what that ends up being is dictatorship. And so, what I say to myself is enablement over dictatorship. My entire job is to enable the engineers that I've identified, who are great engineers, to do their best work and to enjoy it. Typically, there are only 5 reasons why something is not getting done. It's because the engineer doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to do it, doesn't know when you want it done, doesn't know why we're doing it, and so doesn't know how to prioritize it, or they don't want to do it. As a leader, typically we jump to that 5th one when we see something not being done, and we say, "Why do you not want to do this?" Or, "You're not doing it because you don't want to." Whereas typically it's one of those other 4 things. And so instead of jumping to micromanaging and "you got to do this now, and this is the way that you need to do it," and everything, I try to walk through, how can I enable on the what? How can I enable on the how? How can I enable on the when? And how can I enable on the what, before jumping to what is typically a much more charged question of, "Why do you not want to do this?" And so the philosophy for myself in terms of culture is enablement over dictatorship.
Hey, I love that. Appreciate that. I'm kind of building upon that as you look through your journey, right? And we have a lot of folks who listen to the series who are even newer on their entrepreneurial journey. So, kind of, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Yeah, there are so many things. As I think about the start to my journey while I was at Procter and Gamble and while I was building the business, there are a couple of things, and if you don't mind, I'll go through these quickly because I won't dwell on a lot of them, but I think there are a couple of things I really wish that I had known. The first one is just an encouragement to new entrepreneurs. Work begets work, and when word gets out there that you're doing something, that let's say you started a coffee roaster business, when word gets out that you're selling coffee beans or you're roasting beans, the people end up coming, the work ends up coming. And if you can be persistent and consistent and enthusiastic about what you're doing, consistency and staying in the game will end up bringing the investors and the work that you need, or the customers or the clients that you need. So I think that the biggest question I had starting off was, where am I going to get more of these clients? Put in the work, and when word gets out there, the world will come and look for you as well. So be encouraged. The second one is only work on things you would do for free anyway. I would say that over the last 7 years, the passion and enthusiasm for those projects that I have that intersection of competence and enthusiasm for are the ones that I end up doing the best job on, have the best results, and end up uh, bringing me more clients who are thrilled out of their minds at the project that we've done for them. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is early on, charge more than you think you're worth. I'm not one to, and I know this is something that every founder giving advice says, but charge more than you think that you're worth. People will tell you no, and at that point, you know that you're charging enough.
That's how you learn that where that limit is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Peter, you seem very thoughtful on your approach and also take a lot of lessons learned. So I'm curious, has there been a book or a leadership series, a podcast that's been influential to you on your journey?
Yeah. So one book that I would say has been particularly helpful for me is The Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. And I'll spoil it for you here. But the big idea is that he takes the reader through a thought exercise where he asks the reader to get themselves into a time capsule, travel forward 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, get out of the time capsule, and then write down what you see in the present tense. Write down, this is the position of my company in the public space. This is my position at that company. This is what our annual revenue is. This is this is the size of our team. This is the culture that we have. And it's helpful because I think a lot of us naturally want to gravitate toward goals and saying, this is, I want to have, we want to be grossing 8 figures at this point. And that's helpful for grounding yourself. But one of the things that I like to tell myself and tell my team is process over goals and then vision over process. Goals do not bring you forward. Process and habits build toward goals, but vision is the overarching spirit that is ultimately responsible for building the habits that help you to achieve your goals. So the Vivid Vision has been very helpful both in the professional space as well as in the personal space for asking myself, what kind of family do we want to have? What kind of relationship should my wife and I have with one another? And I'll encourage anybody who's trying to ask themselves where they want to take their company or where they want to take themselves individually or where they want to take their team to go and read that book.
Great example. Again, both personal as well as business, for where you want to go and being clear with that. So our time flies, Peter. So as we look to wrap up here today, what are the best ways for folks to learn more about Grinalds and or to connect with you in the business?
Absolutely. Yep. They can reach out to us they can see more about the company at grinaldssolutions.com. They can see some of the projects that we've worked on. And then if they reach out at info@grinaldssolutions.com, we can send them some case studies of the engineering projects that we've achieved recently and set up a time to meet and hear about their ideas.
All right. Hey, thank you again. For our viewers, that the web and that links are in the show notes below. So go check that out. So Peter, as we wrap up, what are you inspired by today?
Todd, I appreciate the time here. In all honesty, I try to be very consistent, both personally and professionally. The things that I'm most inspired by is that satisfaction of holding a product in my hands that was once just a hope or a dream or an idea. And if anybody out there has an idea that they want to bring to life, please reach out. I would love to hear about it. And if not my team, I can at least point them in the direction of some of our other partners in the industry who might be able to help them make that dream a reality.
All right. Thank you. Peter Grinalds of Grinalds Solutions. Thank you again. think you were sharing your inspiring story. You clearly are someone who's very focused on vision and then also really enabling and building your team to pursue that. So appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today on the Business Spotlight series. And
Thanks
to
so
our
much,
view,
Todd. I really appreciate it.
and to our viewers, we're thrilled to have you join us as well. We encourage you to hit the like button. That helps us share the message more. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you can receive future inspiring messages like you heard from Peter today. And with that, hope you all have a terrific day. Thank you.